following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back here to another episode of Sports Chatter TV. I'm your host, Evan Bedell, alongside my co-host here, Steve Atkinson.
Hi.
And you know, we are a show that discusses the four major professional sports, and tonight we're gearing into the third preseason games here in the NFL. And so, Steve, let's get started with obviously a little NFL talk. I think the main sport here going on in the world right now.
Absolutely.
And we'll start with some Pittsburgh Steelers here. Rookie running back from Michigan State, Le'Veon Bell, projected to be the Steelers' starting running back, out 6 to 8 weeks with a Liz Frank injury, sort of a foot sprain. Maurice Jones-Drew last year, the Jaguars had it. What are your thoughts here if Le'Veon Bell can't go for the Steelers Week 1?
Well, it's looking like right now he's not going to be ready to go for Week 1. Thankfully, he's not going to need to have surgery on this midfoot sprain. So I think Pennsylvania collectively has a nice sigh of relief there. Obviously, he's their key running back right now. But I think right now they just need to shift the offense a little bit, kind of gear up for the beginning of the season. They probably won't have Bell for about 6 weeks, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So they need to gear up, change the offense, maybe have the running back block a little bit more, have the short pass to set up the long pass. And I think Big Ben's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, it came out today that Bell doesn't require surgery, which Coach Tomlin said, which is a plus for him. You know, pretty much just rest it. Hopefully it heals on itself. For the Steelers, I think in their own division, they're projected, win the division each year, pretty much a lock. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals this year, so the Steelers' rival, is, the team projected to win. They got some great players on the Bengals there. But, I mean, the Steelers, what do you think about maybe starting a rookie running back, which they haven't had to do in forever, and then just the Steelers' chances for this upcoming season?
I think initially the Steelers will still be okay. The beginning of the season isn't too trying for them. They're going to need to switch the offense around a little bit, obviously. But they don't have much depth in the running back position, so it's definitely going to be an adjustment for the whole offense without having Bell in, obviously. But, again, good thing he does need to have surgery. He said he's a tough player. He said himself, if I can even put pressure on it, I'm going to play on it. So I don't think he's going to rush back, but you know he's going to be back playing as soon as he can.
Yeah, speaking here of another running back who's been injured maybe the past couple seasons, nothing serious, but it always seems every week, every Sunday, he's questionable, probable. If you're a fantasy player, you never want to hear those words if you're trying to set your lineup. But, Arian Foster, the running back we're talking about, the Houston Texans, finally comes off the PUP list, physically unable to perform list, and he says he's ready to go for Week 1. I think he's the key there to the Texans' offense.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's pretty much him, Andre Johnson, their two main offensive weapons. What are your thoughts here if, Foster isn't ready to go Week 1 or if he is ready?
I think he's ready to go Week 1. I mean, first he's out with the calf injury, and then there's the back injury, and now here he is finally back in practice taking some reps. I think his confidence level is way up. I know he's ready to come back and play, and this is just great news if you're a Texans fan overall.
Yeah, I mean, Foster, if we're talking fantasy football here, I think we're both big fantasy football guys. Foster,
guy I'm always looking at.
Top 5 overall selection, probably the top running back there behind Adrian Peterson. If you've had your draft, if you're drafting soon here for the upcoming season, sort of a risky pick, I guess you can say. You don't really know what his future is going to be, but and another player whose future you really don't know what it's going to be is Robert Griffin III here, quarterback for the Washington Redskins. This whole offseason, I feel like, has been a big saga for Robert Griffin, just because it feels like him and head coach Mike Shanahan are sort of butting heads, just because Robert Griffin, the competitor in him, wants to get out there, wants to play, wants to, prove himself that he's fully recovered from the knee injury. Well, Shanahan's like, hold your horses, calm down, be ready for Week 1. But, RG3 says he's ready to go for Week 1. He's trying to get in there in his first preseason game. If you're Redskins fans, I'd rather err on the side of caution and just hold him out till Week 1 because, in reality, these preseason games don't matter. Only the regular season record there matters. So I think if you're a Redskins fan, you're hoping, hey, Robert, chill out a little bit and get ready for Week 1 here.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a very smart move to try and throw him in a preseason game. I think just ride out the preseason. He's supposedly being explosive in practice. He's practicing shotgun. He's running, drop back plays, set plays, change of direction plays, and everything seems to be going great for him. And, it seems like the only thing holding him back right now is just the doctor's final say. I mean, Dr. Andrews still hasn't given him the go-ahead yet. So, I mean, how much is he really going to heal in 2 weeks? Is he going to even get the green light to go play? I don't know, but, I mean, his confidence is there. He's definitely, I think he's ready to come back and start things off against Philly week 1.
What do you think the Redskins are going to be doing this season with RG3? Do you think he's going to be running as much? I feel like they should, maybe, scale back his running plays or maybe try to keep him more in the pocket so he doesn't suffer another significant injury that could possibly derail his career here.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I mean, I think they're going to switch the plays around a little bit, run some more screen plays, just have him sit in the pocket, really. Maybe the occasional bootleg, but they don't want him anywhere out there where he's, prone to getting a nasty hit.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much Showtime. I think we can both agree on that.
I'll give him Showtime.
Turn on the lights there on Sunday. He's ready to roll.
He's a competitor.
I think if you're the Redskins, you sort of, maybe put more of the workload onto running back Alfred Morris, the breakout star last year. Maybe, Shanahan's always sort of been a running backs coach. He sort of cycles through and he likes to run the ball. So I think if they turn to more of a running style game, that would be more, beneficial there for the Redskins.
Definitely.
And, moving on here to another, I guess it was another incident in the NFL. There's been a lot of them this offseason, off the field and now on the field, I guess, the biggest thing we can think of. Houston Texans defensive end Antonio Smith, suspended for the rest of the preseason and week 1, and fined $400,000, for taking off the helmet of Dolphins guard Incognito, Richard, and taking off his helmet and then swinging it at him. And surprisingly, during the game, no one caught this. It was only until after the game, Fox Sports' Jay Glazer tweets out this video saying, "Hey, look at this guy takes off his helmet and swings it at him." And this isn't the first offense for Smith. He's had 7 violations over the past couple seasons. I mean, that's pretty much. There's really no excuse for taking off the helmet of another player and then trying to use it as a weapon aimed at his head. In a sport where concussions is the number 1 topic.
Exactly. I mean, granted, Richie Incognito is a notorious dirty player, but he's, Smith is ripping his helmet off and swinging it at him, at his face. There's only one intent there, really, and it's to hurt the guy. And I'm kind of furious that he has a 3-game suspension. I mean, he's he's missing the rest of the preseason, but now only 1 game during the regular season. Like, guys are just going to keep pushing the envelope with this. But, I mean, that's assault right there.
Yeah, I mean, if that was off the field, he would be facing criminal charges.
It's just absurd.
First off, and then reports come out that after this happened, that Incognito was involved in a nightclub fight a couple nights before, where he knocked out a security guard at a club, just adding to his dirtiness as a player. He's been voted over the past couple seasons as the dirtiest player in the NFL, known for in the pile, poking through players in the eyes,
pulling
the face
fingers.
mask, doing all that stuff at the bottom of the pile. But I mean, there's still no excuse for Smith to
no excuse, none
get
whatsoever.
off his rocker there, and he himself could have suffered an injury. What if he hit his hand on Incognito's head or broke his hand? Really no excuse for that.
Too light of a suspension.
Yeah. What would you have thrown at him for a fine or suspension?
My prediction, I would say 5 to 6 game suspension. I mean, there's no way to look at this in another light. I mean, he got frustrated clearly, ripped off Incognito's helmet, and swung it at him with the intent to hurt him. He was swinging at his head. I mean, you can't take something like this so lightly and only have a few games. I mean, only the remaining preseason games and then week 1. He's still going to be back playing for the team and practicing. This has got to be a heftier.
I know, and let's move. In comparison to another story this week was, if people have been watching preseason football, this game was actually on ESPN. Chargers versus Chicago Bears. Big hit of that game. Chicago's linebacker John Bostic just demolishes the Chicago wide receiver on a bubble screen. Cleans his clock. Looks like a clean hit. No helmet to helmet. Just technique tackle, and he gets fined $21,000 for an illegal hit. And in comparison to the Smith got fined $400,000 in comparison to 21, which is a big difference. But the fact that Bostic got fined for this hit. If people haven't seen this video, I'd go and watch it on YouTube and tell me if it's why it's illegal in the first place and why it would even get fined. In comparison to other hits that haven't gotten fines in the past or suspensions or anything, this was the cleanest hard hit in the NFL I've seen in the past couple of years, and yet somehow he still gets penalized.
I think it's an absolutely ridiculous, ludicrous fine. This was a 100% clean hit. San Diego's Mike Willie, he had time to catch the ball, plan himself, and even brace for the hit. Nothing about this was illegal. I mean, Bostic came in clearly with the shoulder. Granted, the head was down a little bit, but it just allowed for a bigger pop. And it was a clean hit, and he caused a fumble on the play. It was just executed perfectly. And just the fact that this is even being looked at in a different light, it's infuriating. I mean, the NFL came out and said that it was illegal because he used the crown of his helmet to deliver a forcible blow to the body of the receiver. And they state in order for this to be legal, he needs to have the brunt of the force be with the shoulder or to pick his head up. But if Bostic came in with his head up during that hit, it's helmet-to-helmet contact. He's still getting a penalty and a big fine for this.
Yeah, I mean, they said it's a violation there of Rule 12, Section 2, Article 7, which, I mean, the actual rule states, bars a player from, and I quote here, lowering the head and making forcible contact with the top/crown or forehead, hairline, parts of the helmet against any part of the defenseless player's body. So that's the actual rule, and they obviously interpreted it. But, in regards to the suspension and everything, I would love to see the NFL go to the NFL and have their safety, their director of safety in the NFL, sort of a la Brendan Shanahan of the NHL, go on video and just
explain
and do an analysis, with, pointing here, drawing on, and showing exactly where the violation was, just to show fans like why they fined him a certain way, and give fans an explanation that maybe after fans watch it can be like, oh, okay, I understand why they did fine him. I mean, it would sort of. I think it would be a win-win situation for the NFL because I mean, it would make them look like they're trying to show the fans why they did it.
Clears it up.
Yeah, and I guess makes the NFL more personable. I guess on the level, trying to interact with the fans, not try to be so elite.
Certainly, but I mean, I've watched the replay over 100 times.
It's a lot of times.
That
was a lot of replays.
Had to be thorough. Okay. It's a clean hit. There's several camera angles. It's a clean hit. I mean, Willie braces for it. You can see him tense up. He sees him coming the whole way. It's a clean hit. And, Bostic caused a fumble on the play. It was just perfectly executed. Players are taught to, have their head up so that they can be more consistent tacklers and just to make sure they know who they're hitting. It was just a clean hit. If I had any advice for Bostic, I would just say don't listen to Goodell in the league. He did just fine.
Yeah, just keep delivering those, hammering
Great
blows
play.
there.
It was a turnover.
Yeah, it was a turnover and a game changer, but, sort of, if you're a fan, you really don't want to see a pretty much clean hit. Everyone can agree you get fined.
Yeah.
But,
It's the new NFL.
Moving on here to another NFL story, probably in regards to the NFL, was probably the main headline this week. Philadelphia Eagles head coach Chip Kelly names Michael Vick starter for the Eagles, going forward here in week 1, which in the end I think is the smartest decision he could have made there.
Yeah, I mean, is anyone really surprised by this? I don't think so. I mean, Vick has been running his offense so efficiently, 13 for 15 passes, 199 yards, and a TD. I mean, we all knew he was going to be the winner. The only surprising thing is just the timing of it. The announcement was supposed to come out closer to week 1 or just in September in general. And, why now that they're announcing this? But, I mean, I don't think anyone's really surprised by this choice. I mean, would you go with Nick Foles?
Vic, you have to throw him out there. He's a grizzled vet on a team quarterback, quarterbacks consisting of Matt Barkley, rookie, and Nick Foles, only his second year in the league. Vic's been in the league for a while now. I think he's proven that he can play at a superstar level when he's, given the chance and his head's right.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the sort of system that Chip Kelly's running there, I think it's tailored for Vic in a way. I mean, he's a mobile quarterback.
It's just a go-go offense.
He has a better arm than people give him credit for. He can sling the rock there. But I'm, excited there for Vic to be. I mean, that would be a fun offense to watch, even if you're not an Eagles fan.
I'm excited for week 1.
I want to sort of
Vic RG3.
Yeah, I want to get into, sort of a predictions maybe going forward here. division by division predictions for maybe who will be the winner of each division going forward here.
All right.
So I have the divisions in front of me. And, let's start here with our division, I guess you could say, the AFC East. If people don't know, I'll give a rundown of each team in the division. So we got New York Jets, New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. Who's the winner of that division, and why do you think so?
I mean, I hate to be a little bit biased here.
Be a
but
homer?
I got to go with the Patriots.
Okay.
I mean, just Tom Brady. Any team that has Tom Brady, they're going to be efficient. Tom Brady's, the offense is in an adjustment period dealing with the tight ends and Amendola and everything. But it's the New England Patriots, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They're always a contender. They're always going to go deep. And I got to give it to them.
Okay, I mean, I agree with you. Sort of be a homer here. Pats, I mean, I think it's pretty much in a landslide. The second place team, I guess you maybe could say the Dolphins. They added Mike Wallace, but I mean, it's really, I think the Pats. That's a pretty much, you can put it on the board there, lock it down. The Pats are winning that division. And
Absolutely.
Moving on here to AFC North, we discussed it a little bit earlier. You got the Baltimore Ravens, defending Super Bowl champions, Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns. And I said that earlier. I think Cincinnati's got this division. I think it'll be between them and Baltimore. I think Baltimore isn't as good as last year, but I got to give it to Cincinnati here.
See here, I'm going to agree with you. I'm also going to go with the Bengals. But I think it's really going to be between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. I think Baltimore is, losing some key players there along in this offseason. And, Cincinnati, I think Dalton's really going to improve working with A.J. Green.
Okay, and AFC South, we got the Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, and Kansas City Chiefs. I got to go with Houston there. I think they're probably the one of the favorites coming out of the AFC here. Just maybe going on to the Super Bowl. They got J.J. Watt.
Yep.
We talked about Foster, Johnson, Matt Schaub at quarterback. They're pretty low to last year, and I think they can only improve from last season. So I think going forward, that's the team to win that division there.
I gotta agree with you again. I think Houston's gonna take it. Probably be 11-5, I'd say. But I mean, for everything you just listed, Foster and everything else, they're a young team. They're improving, and definitely something to watch out for.
Okay, and then I said the AFC East earlier was probably the biggest lock. I misspoke. The AFC West is the biggest lock.
Yeah.
If you're betting, if you're a betting man, you pick the Denver Broncos to win that division by a landslide. I mean, it's Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, and Chiefs. I mean, I guess second place would probably be the Chiefs. They got Andy Reid there, Alex Smith.
I'd have to go Chiefs,
But the Broncos are stacked. I mean, Von Miller out for the first 6 games of the season. I really don't think that affects them. They added Wes Welker. I mean, the Broncos are loaded, and coming to the AFC, they're one of the favorites to be Super Bowl champions going into this upcoming season.
I would say I'd put it between Denver and the Pats, really. But, I mean, like you said, it's got to be Denver. It's absolutely a lock there. I mean, Peyton's just got too many offensive weapons around him, really.
Okay, and moving on here to the NFC, we got NFC East. We got Cowboys, Redskins, Eagles, Giants. Again, that's always a really fun division if you're a football fan in general to watch. You got a lot of historic teams there. I have to go here with the Cowboys, America's team.
Cowboys.
I know. It was either between them for me. It was either between them or the Redskins. But RG3 coming off the injury, I'm not so sure. Tony Romo, I don't think he's the best, but I think he's adequate enough to bring you to a Super Bowl. I got to go with the Cowboys there.
I mean, yes, the Cowboys have some talent on their team, but it's got to be the Giants.
Okay.
It's got to be. I mean, just Eli Manning alone, he'll lead them to 9 or 10 wins there. But I want to say Giants, but either that or maybe the Eagles. They're a tough team to predict. They're very versatile.
The rookie coach, the Eagles there.
Exactly. I love Chip Kelly, but I don't know. I got to give it to the Giants overall.
The Giants,
they're just too stacked.
Like
Victor Cruz, Hakeem Nicks, they're just too stacked.
It's going to be a typical Giants season. I feel like the Giants are going to start off so-so, 2-2, 3-3. 4-4, one of those, and then all of a sudden they're going to go on a 4 or 5 game win streak, and they're going to be steaming hot going in the playoffs, and just like the past Super Bowl wins, just get hot at the right time, and then maybe carry them a Super Bowl and beyond. And then NFC North here, we got Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers. I got to go with the Green Bay Packers.
Absolutely.
Aaron Rodgers,
agree with you.
Arguably the best quarterback in the game. You really can't bet against him at this point.
He's too good, and again, to reiterate, he's too good with too many weapons. It's got to be the Packers there.
Okay, and then NFC South here to move along. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we got Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Saints. Now, for me, this was one of the more interesting divisions because I think everyone's picking the Falcons are, the it team this season.
Right.
I feel like out of the NFC, maybe even out of both conferences, because they got so close last year.
Red hot right at the end there.
Yeah, they're loaded on both sides of the ball. But then you can never count the Saints. They're getting head coach Sean Payton back this season. They still got Drew Brees. They still got, wide receiver weapons in Marcus Colston and Lance Moore. They still got running backs. But I just can't pick against the Falcons. I'm going to go with the rest of the analysts out there and picking Falcons to win that division, probably be Super Bowl champions.
Super Bowl champions, really? That's your prediction?
That's not my prediction. I said
Okay,
probably.
probably.
But I can see them getting to the Super Bowl.
I think Falcons will absolutely go deep. I agree with you. I think the Saints are going to have a pretty nice bounce-back year. They'll be a nice team to watch. But, I got to go with my boy Matt Ryan, sticking with the Falcons. Just, again, too many weapons on offense there. I mean, Julio Jones, Roddy White, and Gonzalez. It's just – and they love to pick it up at the tail end of the season once it finally clicked, you could say. But I think Falcons will definitely be a contender there.
And, last division here, NFC West. This is probably the most talked about division in football.
I think it's really an exciting.
You got the teams, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks, arguably the best two defenses in football.
Yep.
The most exciting two quarterbacks in the game, Kaepernick and Wilson.
Yep.
And then, the NFC West, you got Arizona and St. Louis. It's pretty much a battle between 49ers and Seahawks. I have to go there with the Seahawks. I think their secondary is too good. The Legion of Doom. You got Sherman, Browner, Earl Thomas back there at safety, I think. And then you got, obviously, Russell Wilson at quarterback. Percy Harvin injury for them is a big blow. That may put their offense over the top, take the top off the defense, a la Randy Moss.
Yep.
But I still got to go with the Seahawks here.
I'm going to agree with you. Again, I mean, it's really between San Francisco and Seattle. But I think if Lynch and Wilson can stay healthy, then I would put them potentially going to the Super Bowl. Okay. Honestly, they're a young team. They're improving by leaps and bounds every single year. And, without Crabtree on the 49ers, they're going to need a new leading receiver there. It's going to be too tough to put them going deep again. So I got to pick the Seahawks there.
Do you want to give me a Super Bowl prediction? I know the season hasn't even started.
Super Bowl prediction. All right. I'm going to go with Patriots, Seahawks.
Okay. That's that can't really argue with that. Probably one of the favorites to come out of both, conferences. I also have to go with the Patriots.
Okay.
Again, I think we're a little both biased.
Well, I got to be a little bit biased.
I mean,
but
they're not the it team of the AFC, but I got Brady and Belichick we trust. And then, out of the NFC, I know Seahawks, were one of my choices too, but just to, be someone disagreeing with you here, I'm going to have to go with Atlanta.
Really?
No,
I thought you were going to go Packers.
I was going to go Packers were my, top three choices in NFC. I got to go Packers, Falcons, Seahawks. 49ers maybe mixed in there, but I got to go Patriots versus Falcons here. So, I guess we'll check back at the end of the season. It's between you and me and see how our predictions turned out here.
Absolutely.
But, enough NFL talk. Let's move on to a little Major League Baseball. Not, sort of the dog days of summer here for the MLB. I think the most exciting news of the past week or 2 weeks or so was the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry sort of
heating up
there,
usual.
putting some gasoline on the fire, sort of bringing it back to life here. We had Ryan Dempster, Red Sox starter, just chucking at A-Rod. 4 pitches, finally hits him on the 4th. Doesn't get tossed. After the game, A-Rod says he's kind of a joke and it wasn't really professional. Dempster gets suspended for 5 games. David Ortiz comes out today and backs A-Rod's comments saying, Dempster shouldn't have done that. So what are your thoughts on the whole, issue there?
I think, you're going to find that type of play anywhere across the league. I mean, guys, this is what pitchers do. They brush guys off the plate. They want to be intimidating on the mound. And obviously, where A-Rod is right now, he's not exactly a fan favorite. But do I think Dempster should have done this? No. 1 or 2 pitches would have sufficed. He's throwing the ball behind him at his ankles. Clearly he's trying to intimidate him. But, for Ortiz to come out and say that he supports A-Rod, it's a little strange, I got to admit.
Yeah.
But, he does come out and also say that, I know Dempster is a good guy. He's just trying to be a good teammate. But, it's something to watch out for across the league.
A couple thoughts I had regarding this whole, Ortiz comments and the pitch and hitting A-Rod itself. First off, Ortiz, I think you don't say that, to the media. That's something you say in the clubhouse or you talk about with Dempster, being like, hey, why'd you do that? We're in a pennant race here.
To interrupt you, though, Ortiz loves to just come out when it's not necessary.
Yeah, like the PED story we talked about a couple weeks ago. When no one's talking about it, he just brings, like, Poppy.
Unwanted attention.
Yeah, we know you like to be the center of attention, but, cool your jets here. But in regards to, the Dempster pitch, one, you're in a pennant race. Why that's a pivotal game. You're only, at the time, only 1 or 2 games ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep. You
have to put the team first, not your personal, battle with A-Rod that stretches back however so many years. And if you're the Red Sox, if they knew Dempster was going to, try to hit A-Rod just to settle his own personal beef, wait till the end of the game. Maybe you're getting blown out, you're blowing out the Yankees, and bringing in someone from your bullpen who's the designated plunker who just, if you ever need to hit a batter, you bring this guy out and, do something like that. And on the Yankee side, it was sort of, to me, comedic how all of a sudden the Yankees, as the announcers were saying, rallied around, A-Rod after this hit where, I don't think there was much to rally around. They probably wanted to see A-Rod hit as much as the next guy.
Oh, absolutely. They were hoping he got injured off that.
Yeah, so, out for the season. But in regards to A-Rod, now the Yankees are only 3 or 4 games out of a, playoff spot here, fighting for it. A-Rod's probably been their best player.
I don't think anyone could have predicted this, but
it's sort of I forget, I can't attribute this to anyone. I forget who said it, but it was Dempster's the first player in like Major League Baseball history, probably in the history of sports in general, to get suspended for violating or hitting, injuring whatever sport. So in this baseball, for hitting another suspended player. Yeah. So he got suspended off a suspended player, which is sort of interesting if you think about it. Has that ever happened?
It's a little ironic.
Like in hockey, as Milan Lucic got suspended for hitting a guy from behind on the ice who at the time was also suspended but still playing. Like, it's sort of crazy if you think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this guy got suspended for, doing something against another suspended player, which, in general, Dempster's suspension probably comes at a good time. He hasn't been pitching well, so I really don't think it matters.
He hasn't been playing
run.
That well.
But I thought it was a comedic situation.
It goes back to how ridiculous I think it is that the MLB can just throw out these suspensions for PED use, and guys can choose when they want to serve the suspension. Guys would be like, oh, I'm not really in a pennant race. I'll serve it next season. It's ludicrous, and it needs to be. If you're really trying to crack down on PED use, you need to enforce that rule and have guys actually pay for it instead of having it be so lackadaisical.
Yeah, and then, the other aspect of this A-Rod saga, as the saga continues, is, he finally told his legal team to, be quiet, settle down. I just want to focus on baseball here because, before he said this, his legal team has been attacking the Yankees, Major League Baseball, disputing claims, yada, yada, yada. And A-Rod's finally like, all right, I don't want to hear anything else from you guys. I just want to focus on baseball. It's sort of mind-boggling to me to use a unique word here, mind-boggling. That A-Rod, I've never seen a player be able to do this, and other people have commented this, be able to focus just on the game of baseball while he's playing and not focus on the outside, not let it affect his actual game. If that was probably me or you, I don't want to speak for you, but if this was happening to us and everyone was booing us, we had all the media attention on us, the most polarizing figure probably in sports right now, to go out there and still be able to hit, contribute, help your team out is just mind-boggling.
It is. This is why we're not professional athletes. I don't know if I'd be able to do it. Every single at-bat, even my home crowd is booing me. Mm-hmm. Just the media frenzy that surrounds him anywhere he goes, even off the field. It's tough to just focus on what you do and what you do best. But it's an interesting move to tell his own legal team to back off. Is he kind of accepting the suspension at this point? I don't know what's going on, but it'll be. I want him to succeed. I do, but
just mind-boggling.
It is. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of shows.
I mean, do I say he's a grizzled vet? I don't know. I don't know if
you
I
could.
give
I
him
mean,
the term.
he's 38. He's been in the league
He's
for a
a
while
vet.
now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's A-Rod, so
That-
everywhere
it's
he
A-Rod.
goes, something's always going to be
He's still
surrounding
going to
him.
grind my gears.
Let's move on here to another. This actually happened last night. Big story, I guess, if you're a Braves fan or just a baseball fan in general. Jason Hayward it was sort of scary and horrific to watch if you watch the replay. Jason Hayward of the Braves at bat gets drilled in the jaw face region by a pitch, ends up breaking his jaw. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, possibly the rest of the season. Just disturbing to watch, and you never like to see a player get hit anywhere on your body with a baseball.
Real scary moment. I mean, there's been some pretty graphic injuries so far in this baseball season. But absolutely, I mean, you never want to see that happen. He's a great player. He's starting to get red hot towards the end of the season here. He's the leadoff hitter, obviously. He had 13 homers and 37 RBIs. So he was really picking his game up, and it's heartbreaking to really see him go down like that. And there's reports saying that he's had surgery now to put some plates into the section of the jaw that was broken. But thankfully, the Braves are well ahead, commanding lead in the NL East there. So hopefully he'll be able to make a return later in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's one of the most exciting young players to watch in the game. He obviously can hit it all aspects of the ballpark there. He's pretty much a power hitter. And let's obviously move on here to another big story from last night was Ichiro Suzuki.
I think this is an incredible achievement.
Yeah, Ichiro Suzuki. But I want to hear your claims on this.
Okay.
But let me just give it the facts. Ichiro reached his 4,000th hit. But let me break. It wasn't his 4,000th hit in Major League Baseball.
No.
Let me give you the numbers. Last night he hit in Major League Baseball while he's been playing in the United States. It was his 2,722 hit. And while he was playing, overseas, in Japan, he has 1,278 hits. So technically, he hasn't reached 4,000 hits in the major leagues. He hasn't even reached 3,000. But still, in general, great achievement by Ichiro, who's been a professional for however so long. I mean, he's always been hitting 200. On reaching base 200 times a season, stuff like that. I mean, he's just been a model baseball player. If you're a young kid trying to model your game, Ichiro's a great player to do so.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt he's still a future Hall of Famer here.
Yeah, definitely.
But the debate is still out there whether or not you put him in the 4,000 club with Ty Cobb and Pete Rose, some amazing hitters. But for me personally, I still consider him part of the club just because he's such a tremendous batter. I mean, when you look at his stats, he's the first Japanese player to have 200 hits in a single season. In his first 10 seasons, he had 200 hits. He's incredible at the plate. He's just as good at fielding as well. But I got to put him in the club as well. It's
the 4,000?
Absolutely. I mean, his averages and stats speak alone for that. And I think to kind of separate it between the two leagues, they're comparable, obviously not the same, but it's still an incredible achievement, and I think you got to give him the credit there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put him in the 4,000 club, but if you're being technical, even if he reaches 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball, that's still a amazing achievement. Like you said, the only two players in Major League Baseball history to reach 4,000 hits while only playing in the majors, not the minors, the majors, are Ty Cobb and Pete Rose, and the other players who've hit 4,000 combined in the minors and majors. I mean, this is a great list. You have Cobb, Hank Aaron, Stan Musial, which, I mean, are legends, all-time greats. So even for Ichiro to be mentioned in the same breath as those guys just, is a compliment to the type of player he is and will continue to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a great teammate. Guys love him. Granted, I feel like you got to give him a little bit of slack because he's coming from a Japanese league. He didn't grow up here in America, jumping straight into the bigs. So his career had to progress, and I think he's just made tremendous achievement here, and you got to give him the credit.
Moving on here to another player who's been, racking up the hits over the years. A year or two ago, considered the best hitter in baseball, the best player in baseball, Albert Pujols. Ever since he left St. Louis, I think we can both agree, and went to Los Angeles Angels, he's sort of been declining, and he's now he's out for the rest of the season with an injury, and he says he expects a strong return here for the 2014 season. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I think this is just a story talking about a confident hitter remaining confident, and I think he's obviously up there in age, and when you start thinking about that, you start thinking about bat speed. Can they still keep up with the ball? But Pujols' swing is clocking in at 88 miles per hour. The guy can still hit, clearly. He's been in the league a long time. I mean, if he hit 340 for his next 11 seasons like he did in St. Louis, he'd be from another planet. I mean, he's averaged 40 home runs, over 100 RBIs. The guy he's an animal. And I think when you have a guy his age still being this confident about a return, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt there.
I mean, if you look at his contract they signed with the Angels, it's absurd. 10 years, $240 million, and he still has 8 years, $212 million remaining on this deal. So, I mean, if you're an Angels fan, you hope he produces. I mean, I don't think any player is worth that amount of money, but you hope maybe he reaches one half of his worth of that contract, maybe 3/4, just so you could say you got a good return on investment. Talking, business here, I guess. But Pujols, I mean, I feel like ever since he left St. Louis, where he was, the hometown hero. I mean, beloved by the fans. I mean, I feel like ever since he went to the Angels, he's sort of. I mean, I haven't heard as much about him. I don't follow him as much. I think he kind of got lost in the shuffle there. I don't think you can expect a strong return from him next season. I mean, I think he'll still put up great numbers, but I don't think he'll put up Albert Pujols numbers.
No, I mean, I can't say he's going to, like I said, he can't bat a 340 average for the next 11 seasons like he did in St. Louis. That was the prime of his career. I think he's on the downslope? Yes, but I got to be optimistic that, come 2014, he's still going to be a great player. I mean, this was the first season in his career that he didn't hit over 30 home runs, but he still put up over 20, which is still a great stat. So, you got to think, hopefully, with this long off season now for him, he'll be able to recover, work the swing, and be back better than ever.
Yeah, so 2014, keep your eye out on Pujols, see how he does here. Let's move on to our favorite sport here. I think we can agree on sports chatter here. NHL talk, can't get enough of it.
It's been a long time since we've talked
about it. It's been the off-season, training camp, 40 days, not that far away. And, hometown team here, our team, Bruins, named Keith Gretzky. The last name does sound...
The good one.
The good one. The last name does sound familiar, related to the great one, Wayne Gretzky. He's named the chief of amateur scouting for the Bruins here.
I think this is just, it's a great promotion. He deserved it overall. I mean, when did he join? 2011. What happened in 2011 for the Bruins? I think everyone in Boston can tell you that. So just a great move by the Bruins to pick up a great guy and clearly a great hockey mind.
Yeah, I mean, Gretzky, you can't go wrong if your last name is Gretzky. He's been, I guess, his crowning, achievement so far he's been known to scout more European players, which if you look this year's draft and last year's, they've been picking more European players than previous years, whereas before they were sort of lacking in the European scouts and scouting. They were focused more on North American skaters. Nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, a lot of the great players in the NHL, if you look, they're from, overseas in Europe. So, I mean, I think if you're trying to get more of those players, you have to promote your greatest European scout to the highest level he can reach.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it was just a great move by the Bruins to also bring aboard P.J. Axelson, a great long-time grizzled vet.
Yes, grizzled for sure.
And, having him be a scout overseas, it's going to be amazing. I mean, he's already been talking to the Bruins players right now, telling them how much they're going to love Louis Eriksson. So he's just a great personality, another great guy to have on board. So having Gretzky and Axelson working in cahoots, I got high hopes for the Bruins' future.
Yeah, and speaking of great players in the NHL here, this sort of a scary, interesting story. Flyers captain Claude Giroux, one of my favorite players in the NHL. I love the way he plays. Feisty, sort of undersized guy, but wears the C, leaves it all out there on the ice. Has surgery on his right index finger after getting injured playing golf. So supposedly he suffered tendon damage when his golf club, while swinging, shattered, and caused this injury. I mean, this is just a freak injury. Like, you see, like, if you ever read the stories where someone gets hurt falling down the stairs or taking out their laundry or something like that, it's like one of those injuries that you're just like, I mean, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was pretty much every hockey player plays golf in the off season, so it's not
that's
like
the running joke
not
when
like
you
he was
get
going
knocked out of the playoffs.
skydiving not like he was going skydiving or parachuting or something crazy. He's playing golf, and just bad luck there for Giroux and the Flyers.
Absolutely. It's such a ridiculous injury. I mean, it just reminds me of the Sammy Sosa injury when he sneezed and threw out his back.
Yeah.
But is this the manliest injury of all time? I mean, yeah, clearly.
So that
that golf ball is in outer space right now.
Yeah.
If he snapped his driver.
The bad thing would be if we find out he actually missed the golf ball and he just
broke.
shattered the club
Right.
on the green.
But I mean, to have his finger be impaled by his broken golf club, it's pretty wild.
Do you think he was going Happy Gilmore style there, and
I
going for
don't
the
know. I don't know
slap
how
shot?
you get the velocity on that. Clearly, he knows about flex, but I got to think there's more to this story than a normal stance at the tee box.
You hope after the story comes out that maybe a hockey company such as Bauer, Reebok, CCI, maybe it comes out with a golf, club. Maybe starts branding one for hockey players.
Yeah,
so they
a golf glove or something.
Yes, so they don't suffer these injuries.
Pretty
but
funny.
Not a a good situation there
Not
for
ideal
Drew while he's looking to
Flyers.
make Team Canada. Obviously, I mean maybe he still will make it just because of his reputation and past performances for Team Canada. They're in starting training camp, but he's obviously not going to be in camp there. So bad news for Team Canada as well.
Absolutely, but I'd like to think that he's not going to miss a beat. He's going to come back just as good as he always was.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see going forward here what Giroux has, and let's move on to a little NBA talk. An interesting story that's been brewing, over the past couple of weeks was the Brooklyn Nets versus New York Knicks battle. Paul Pierce comes out, now of the Brooklyn Nets, formerly of the Boston Celtics, comes out and says Brooklyn's going to win over the Hearts of New York. We're going to be the it team in New York. And Raymond Felton of the New York Knicks guard comes out and says the Nets will never take over the city, which, I sort of pause at because, I think Paul Pierce meant the state of New York, not the New York City.
Right.
Whereas Felton said New York City, not the state. So sort of, semantics here, but were they talking about the state of the city is the question I have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, Felton said himself, we wear New York on the jersey, they wear Brooklyn. So, but who knows what he's really getting at there? I think Pierce was just kind of trying to fuel the rivalry a little bit.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, I think the Nets really do have a chance to kind of usurp the power, I guess, from the Knicks. Knicks are, they're dilapidated. The team's falling apart. Teammates don't even like each other anymore. So it'd be interesting to see what comes about.
I think Brooklyn's the new cool team in the NBA. They got the new arena, new Jay-Z,
just
all that
affiliation
stuff.
of Jay-Z alone.
But just to go off on a little side note here, Brooklyn Nets is the worst sports name in the NBA.
It's just
Nets. That's their team name.
quintessential basketball
the Nets. They could have been called the Brooklyn,
Could be the Raptors.
Oh, the Raptors is also
I
bad.
think that's a pretty bad one.
Like just the Nets, they couldn't come up with something other for like the Brooklyn, I don't know, Brooklyn Heights or something. Like, something like that.
That's not bad.
The
not bad.
Nets, they just named an inanimate object. Like,
It's
that's just
basketball Nets.
So, I mean, going forward there, we'll see how this rivalry
goes. What do you think?
goes.
Think they could take over?
I think Brooklyn is the new it team.
You think they already
just
have?
I think the Nets are, they got
they gotta prove
the
themselves
legacy,
first.
they got the history and all that, but Brooklyn's sort of the up and coming team. They just made that big trade. They're sort of the, like I said, the it team, the new trend, all that sort of stuff, but the new arena and everything. And Jay-Z, like we stated, obviously adds to it, but I think the Knicks will always have a slight edge just because of their history.
Right.
They're in the city, the capital of the country, I guess you might be able to say, that New York City. I just think the Knicks will always have a slight edge in Brooklyn. If they don't change that name, they may never, get there.
Right.
So we'll see. But that's the end here of another episode of Sports Chatter TV. But before we, obviously this is the series finale for Steve and I.
Season
So
one.
we'll be both going back to school here.
Yep.
But first off, I think I can speak for both of us that we'd like to thank everyone here at Access Nashua for, giving us this opportunity. It's been a great experience.
Amazing.
It's fun coming for me and him, both sports guys, to be able to come and talk about it with you guys. And we'd like to thank Steve and Dick here for giving us the chance and, helping us out with all the behind the scenes and everyone here editing the videos, because we obviously don't have to do that, which is a big plus. And, you know, just overall, we'd like to say a big thanks for our viewers out there and everyone giving us this chance.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, Sports Chatter has been a tremendous experience for me. I know I've learned a lot and definitely come a long way from where we were, and it's been just an overall great experience.
Yeah, I think, it's been a fun ride here. But again, this is it for another episode, our sign-off here at Sports Chatter TV. You might see us again sometime, you know, maybe next summer, sometime in the future, season 2 possibly. You know, we'll leave you on a little cliffhanger here. But again, I'm your host, Evan Waddell, alongside my co-host here, Steve Atkinson, and thanks for tuning in again.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.